and welcome to our study session of Standard 9 Geography. In today's session, we are going to see part economics in the subject geography. The subject geography is divided into two sections. First section is geography, in which we are going to see geographical information, physical. In second section, that is economics related to money. And what is all that we are going to see today in this chapter number 8, that is Introduction to Economics. The name of the topic is Introduction to Economics. The concept is very new to you and it is just introduced to you through this topic. In the next topics, we are going to see what is economics in detail. So, in this chapter, we are going to see these all concepts, 6 concepts under this chapter. And which all are they? First, we are going to see the introduction of the topic as usual. Secondly, we are going to see the geographical explanation, how geography and economics are related to each other. We will see that one. Thirdly, we are going to see types of economy. There are 3 types of economy. Which all are they, how they work, and what all about that we'll see in detail. Next is factors affecting an economy. What are the factors in the society, in the world, which affect, disturb the economy? We will see in detail all the factors. Next is globalization of an economy. The word globalization is not new to you. We have heard the word many a times in our regular life. So, how economy can be globalized and what is that concept? We'll see in this concept. And last one is functions of an economy, how economy works, what are the different functions and how it affects our day-to-day life. So, all these concepts we are going to see in today's work, and let's see one by one all these topics. So, let's begin one by one. This is your book, Geography. From that book, lesson number 8. See here, Introduction to Economics. And that is under Human Geography. What is the section? Human Geography. Let's see this chapter directly. Okay. So, here one table is given to you. In this table particular, there are some things given. Let us read this table first. Okay. See here, items and estimated expenditure. Estimated means approximate expenditure. Given here, expenditure means what? Expenses we spend on the things. Whatever money we spend on the things is given here. See here, daily food. Okay, 6,000 rupees for daily food. Then buying 2 sets of uniform. It costs 2,000 rupees. School stationery 500 rupees. Medical expenditure 450. Recreation means for enjoyment. Sometimes we spend something for our own enjoyment while living our life, and that is approximate cost 500 rupees. Mobile bill, nowadays essential, 1000 rupees. Vegetables, fruits, etc. that is also highly essential for our health, because health is wealth. So 1000 rupees. Public transport, through which we transport every day, we use the means of transport. So, what are they? Bus, railway, rickshaw, etc. Whichever means you use during your regular day-to-day life, and it costs 2,600 rupees. Then electricity bill, whichever electric supply we use, for that purpose we have to pay that, and that is 1,500 rupees. Tourism 4,000 rupees, this, and bank installments 3,000 rupees. So, in all, the expenditure estimated, approximate, in advance it is estimated 22,550. What is the estimated expenditure? 22,550. Suppose this is your expenditure this month. Okay, this is your own family expenditure for this month, and your monthly income is 20,000 rupees. Okay, so income is 20,000 and expenditure cost 22,550. So you do not get anything for savings and all. That is the different part. But here your budget is showing that among your 20,000 rupees you are going to spend on your expenditure. You are going to spend on your expenditure how much? 22,550. So are you in profit or in loss? Obviously in loss. Then how can you manage this 2,550 rupees, which is more than your monthly income? So how will you manage this one? So for that purpose, here one activity you have to do. You have to study this one deeply and thoroughly, this table, and you have to decide how will you do your budget, fix your budget, cut short your budget to 20,000 rupees. Now for doing this, which all expenditure is essential, compulsorily you have to spend on that, and which is not that much essential, means which you can avoid for this month. You can do it next month also. So accordingly you have to prepare another budget of yourself in the notebook. Okay. Now again, as for example my budget is 20,000 rupees. What will I do? See here, daily food, it's very essential. I cannot cut short anything there. 6,000 rupees means I have to pay those 6,000 rupees. Now buying 2 sets of uniform, if you ask me, what I will do, I'll buy 1 set of uniform this month. So 1,000 rupees are lessened, and 1 set I'll purchase next month. So here I have cut 1,000 rupees. Then school stationery. Education is the best investment. So we cannot spare anything on the instead of education. Okay, so that is compulsory. You have to spend that one full stationery 500 rupees. Medical expenditure, as I said earlier, health is wealth. So we cannot do anything there. We have to spend that much money on medical expenditure. Then recreation. If you ask me, I can avoid this month 500 rupees. I will spend that money next month if I get more. Okay, so 1,500 rupees I have lessened. Mobile bill. If it is essential, I have to pay. If it is not essential, I am just spending on this my mobile for anything, just to make time pass, I can cut short that bill also. Otherwise, I have to pay. Then vegetables, fruits, etc. very essential in day-to-day life. We have to purchase that. We cannot cut short anything over there. Public transport. Yes, if I am going by rickshaw, I can go by bus, so that my expenses over there will be shortened, lessened. Then electricity bill, it is essential. We cannot do anything over there. Tourism. Now see here, tourism, I can avoid this 4,000 rupees. Instead of spending this time, whenever I will be having some more money in my hands, I can spend on tourism that much money. It depends on my will and wish, whole and soul. So I can do there something. Bank installments, they are compulsorily should be paid, otherwise banks charge some fine on you. So this way, whichever things are very essentials, which we cannot avoid, where we have to spend that much money compulsorily, we have to keep them, and where we cannot spend that much, we should not spend that much, we can avoid this expenses, there you have to cut short and you have to make a new budget of your family, and the income of your family is 20,000 rupees. So I want that you have to make a table of 20,000 rupees only, how you adjust, which items you adjust over there. Let's see who all gives this to me nicely and correctly. Okay, now see here, next part of the study is geographical explanation. What is exactly economics? Economics means what? The concept is new, you have not heard before, might have heard but do not understand that much. What is economics? The word economics is very close to us while living our regular day-to-day life, because economics is directly related with money and our budget. So after reading this table, you might have got some slight idea that we have to fix our budget with the money we have in our hand, and that is exactly economics. Economics is the science of money matters. Let's see how economics is. So after discussion on the above activity, you will realize that management of individual or family finances means what? Money, is mainly related to income and expenditure, that is economic factors. So the budget, the management of any family or any country, any state, any district, whatever, the management, okay, depends on which factor? Economic factors, because money matters everywhere. If you have money, you can fulfill your wishes. If you don't have that much money in your hand, you have to postpone your wishes or you have to cancel also sometimes. So that is all. While living our day-to-day life, we have to face this problem every day, everywhere, every time. And so, how to manage all these things nicely, it is dependent on the study of economics. Economics helps us to do all these things nicely according to our wish. And these economic factors only led to the birth of economics. Now the word economics comes from the Greek word oikonomia. What is the pronunciation? Oikonomia. See there, oikonomia. Fine. So from where the word economics has been derived? It has been derived from the Greek word oikonomia. And meaning, what is the meaning of that oikonomia? It means family management. How you can manage your family's income and expenditure, that whole and soul tells us economics. So there is a lot of similarity between family management and economics. Okay, we understand from economics how to use time, money, labor and land effectively. So these are the uses of economics. What are the benefits of studying economics? How can you manage, how can you make your day-to-day life more effective, or you can live a nice life, okay, with the help of study of economics. So what are the benefits of economics? See here. First thing is, economics helps us to understand how to use time management. If you are master in time management, you can achieve anything in your life. Money, how to use money. Money must be used very, very carefully, because money makes the mare go. We have heard. So money is very essential plus very valuable thing in our life nowadays. So how to use the money? Then how to use the labor? Labor means what? The work. How can you use? And land also effectively with the help of economics, with the help of the study of economics, we can use these all resources effectively. Now secondly, what is the benefit of economics? How to satisfy the infinite needs of the people using various resources in the study matter of economics. Now infinite means unlimited. The needs of people are unlimited. Human being is never ever satisfied. If we have something, suppose for example, if I have one car, so that car satisfies my need of transport. But am I satisfied? No. If I see some nice imported car, it's with my neighbor, immediately I feel the wish to get that car with me. So human wishes are infinite, never ending. And so how to satisfy these needs of people using various resources? Resources are scarce, limited, and wishes are unlimited. So unlimited wishes and very limited resources, material, whatever, how to balance between these two, economics tells us effectively. According to Lionel Robbins, he was the great economist. What did he say? Economics is a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. What did Lionel Robbins say? Economics is a science, which studies what? Human behavior. It studies human behavior as a relationship between what? Ends. Ends means what? The unlimited wishes of human beings or unlimited wants of human beings, and scarce resources or scarce means resources or things to satisfy the wants. Scarce means insufficient, limited. So what did he say? Lionel Robbins, economics is a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means. And these means have alternative uses. Things are limited, but they have alternative uses, many uses. So as we manage the finances of our families, similarly, villages, cities, states, countries and world also need to have economic management. Obviously, if it is highly impossible for one person to manage his own home, own family of 4 members, then the city with many people in that, the city, it has to be managed, then villages, states also, countries, and finally the whole world needs to have economic management, otherwise everything will collapse. Geographically speaking, the enterprises related to the production, distribution and consumption of goods and services in a specific region is called an economy. So in the geographical term, what is economy? Economy means the enterprises related to production of things, then distribution of those things produced, and then consumption means spending on those goods and services in a specific region. Speaking about a specific region is called an economy. Now on a global level, world level, there are 3 types of economies. What are those 3 types of economics? Let's see. See here. This table tells us the types of economy. First is capitalistic economy. The word capitalistic is not new to you. Last year in history, we have studied this capitalistic word very nicely. capitalistic economy, second is socialistic economy, and third is mixed economy. What is this all? Let's see. In the capitalistic economy, ownership and management of means of production is in the hands of private individuals. You might have heard the term privatization of anything, everything. Nowadays it's going on around us. So, ownership and management also of means of production is in the hands of private individuals, private people. They have captured everything in their hand. They are the master of these means of production, and it depends on their will and wish, everything, how they give to others or how they use those resources. So, capitalistic means in the hands of private individuals. Now, the main aim of capitalistic economy is to earn maximum profit. One and one only aim is to gain maximum profit. So, profit based industries. They do not think about the society or the problems in the society. They are here only to earn more and more money, to gain more and more profit. See here, Germany, Japan, the USA have adopted such a type of economy. Why they are ahead of the other countries in the world? Did you get? Germany, Japan and the USA. It's capitalistic economy over there. Everything is in the hands of private individuals. Okay. Now second type is socialistic economy. What is it? The means of production belong to the society as a whole, that is the government's control. In socialistic economy, everything is under the control of government. Now the main aim is to achieve social welfare. Obviously, the welfare means what? The goodness of society, the betterment of society. Their main aim is to achieve the betterment of the society because everything is in the hands of government. Which are the countries? China and Russia have adopted socialistic type of economy. Now last one is mixed economy. Now you might have got an idea that in capitalistic everything is in the hands of private individuals. In socialistic everything is in the hands of government. So what can be mixed economy? In the mixed economy, some things are in the hands of private individuals, whereas some things are in the hands of the government. That is mixed economy. Coexistence of private and public sectors. Some industries are under private sector, some are under public sector. Public means in the government. A balance between profit and social welfare is made. Not only profit or not only social welfare, a balance is there between all these two things. Now, which are the countries having this type of economy? India, our country, Sweden, the UK, United Kingdoms, England have adopted this type of system. Now, if we have to differentiate between these economies, types of economies, how can we do that? First point is, in the capitalistic, ownership is in the hands of private individuals. In the socialistic, ownership is in the hand of government, and in mixed economy, coexistence of private and public sectors is there. Second point, in capitalistic economy, main aim is to earn maximum profit. In socialistic, main aim is to achieve social welfare, and in mixed, a balance between profit and social welfare is made. Third point is the countries where this type of economy is found. Now, in capitalistic economy is found in Germany, Japan and USA. Socialistic, China and Russia, and mixed, India, Sweden and UK. So, if you differentiate between these and if you study this way, it's very easy to understand types of economy. learn this concept clearly. Now next thing is factors affecting an economy. If you see this picture, there are many things in that. See, in this Satyameva Jayate is written, that is our emblem of India, political sovereignty. Then occupations, a teacher is shown, a farmer is shown, then here cook is shown, okay, scientists are shown, here something, farmers and all. These are the occupations, okay. Occupations means what? The work the people do. Now here population in this, okay, population, and here geographical area and natural resources. Fine. Now tell me, after seeing this one, which part is more in these all 1, 2, 3 and 4? Occupations. So economy is dependent upon occupations, not whole and sole, but almost more than half. See here, if you see here, it's more than half part, this one, occupations. Check out, okay, more than half part. So economy is dependent upon the occupations of the people in the country. The economy of the country is dependent upon the occupations. The economy of the state also dependent upon the occupations. The economy of a family also is dependent upon the occupation. Okay. And something is dependent upon political sovereignty. That is how the government or the political parties give their contribution towards economy, how geographical area and natural resources are used, and the population is one more factor. So these are the factors which affect an economy, which disturb or which support an economy. Okay, if there is balance between all these factors, the economy of a country is the best. If we find some imbalance between these, somewhere high, somewhere low, then the economy is also disturbed. So these are the factors. Okay, learn all these 5 factors, draw this one in your book, and then write down these factors down. Okay. Now here one more for our own information, knowledge booster is given. Adam Smith, this person who's shown here in this picture, who's he? Adam Smith is known as the father of economics. Who is known as the father of economics? Adam Smith. In his book Wealth of Nations, published in 1776, he has defined economics as the science of wealth. So who is the father of economics? Adam Smith. In which year he had published? 1776. And what is the name of his book? Wealth of Nations. Okay. And he has defined economics as the science of wealth. Who has defined economics as the science of wealth? Adam Smith. Now something about this, some important points. Always remember, economics is an important social subject. It's related to the whole society. It's not of only one member, one person, one family. It is related to the whole society, because in the society there are many families, and one family can disturb or can support, can affect another family in the society. So it is social subject. We use economics on a large scale in agriculture, trade, finance, administration, law, and in our daily life also. Yes, we have seen in the beginning how our daily life is related to economics. Economics holds a paramount importance in the social development of humans. Okay, it plays a key role, economics, in the social development of humans. Now, what is globalization of the economy? New concept again. The recent economic policies are taking the economy towards globalization. The economic policies of the countries. Every country has its different economic policy, and accordingly the economy of that country is good or bad. What is mean by globalization? Globalization means building a world economy, making the economy worldly of the entire world. Okay, building a world economy to make the economy of the whole world nice. That is mean by globalization of an economy. World economy is a borderless economy. It is ahead of the borders of the countries. It does not relate to a particular country or a particular area. It applies to the whole world, and so it is called as borderless economy, in which natural resources, profit, services, capital, labor and technology flow freely across borders of countries. All these things, all these resources are used similarly at the same time in all the countries. That is called globalization of the economy. Globalization means aligning the country's economy with the world economy. Every country's economy should be same, aligning with the world's economy. Okay, that is called globalization. There is free trade and all restrictions on investments are set aside. But it's a long way to go to apply this globalization of economy, because free trade and all restrictions on investments are set aside. Anyone in the corner of the world, any corner of the world can go anywhere, can invest anywhere, can work anywhere. This is the supportive system of economy of the world. Okay, and that is globalization. Now the last concept in today's session is the functions of an economy. How economy functions, how economy works in every country. Every country has a different economy. Obviously, poor countries might be having poor economic policies, and the wealthy countries, richest countries might be having richest economic policies. So every country has a different economy. Nevertheless, the main functions of economy are similar. Even though every country has different economy, the functions of economy are same everywhere in all the countries. Some of the main functions of the economy are as follows. See here, functions are given: deciding the product and quantity of its production. So that is the main purpose of any economy. You have to decide the product, which product should be produced, and the quantity of its production. Quantity is also important. You cannot produce any type of quantity as you wish. No, there is some restriction on that. So the government has to decide, or the economists, whoever are there, they have to decide the product and the quantity of his production. Then second is minimize the production costs as much as possible. Production cost, it is in the hands of government. Minimize the production cost. Okay. Then distribution of national income according to social and economic justice. Whatever income is in the government's treasury, it's government's income, but is it government's income? It is the income from the pockets of the common people. Every person has contributed towards that income, and so this income should be distributed according to social and economic justice. Next one is making appropriate provisions for the economic needs of the future, because who knows the future? So there must be some provision for the economic needs of the future, for every family, for every village, every state, every country and the whole world. This is highly essential factor to make future provisions. And last one is deciding for whom the goods will be produced. For whom? The category, the people who will use those goods, and accordingly, specifically for them, the production should be made. Thus, an economy strives to create a balance between limited resources and unlimited needs. How can you balance between your limited resources, things, and your unlimited needs? That is the function of economy. Now, here one activity is given. See, if you are interested, you can do it. Suppose you are the finance minister of an agrarian country. Giving priority to overall development of the country, make a 5-point program. This 5-point program is a way ahead of you. So just read out that. And this is today's topic, Introduction to Economics. I hope that everybody has understood this chapter well. This activity you must complete on your own. And thank you for watching me.